Benvenuti to a full driving review of the all-new Fiat 500, now all-electric, in 3 different versions. The special convertible here, then the classic hatch, or limousine as Fiat calls it, and also the new 3+1 version with a suicide door. Very interesting. Exterior, interior and the driving experience here on our channel, as you know, in Full HD, full screen and full length. Let's go! In the front, the all-new Fiat 500 has this closed EV look, so it looks definitely stronger as well, a little bit wider. And you see the headlamps are split right here with the LED. Very interesting. A very base version would still come with halogen, and then optional, the main headlamp unit is also LED, or also included in one of the higher trims. The color here is called Ice Blue. We also have different versions for you today, also with different colors. Will be very interesting for sure. I really think, a big step forward already from design in the front. It looks, definitely more likable, but stronger in general. What do you think if you compare it to the older version? Leave me your comments. And very interesting, this huge 500 lettering here in the front is basically the center of the front vehicle. And very interesting how the turning indicators appear, first of all here in the lower part in the front, but also then for the side turning indicators. Right here. So it stands a little bit out. It looks, not so streamlined with the whole other design, but definitely very spectacular that just this inner part is illuminated. Yeah, definitely also playful. The length is at 3.63 m, 11'9" or 143 inches. So a couple of centimeters, couple of inches longer than the predecessor. The turning circle, by the way, at small 9.7 meters. Wheels come from 15.2, maximum 17 inch. You can see them right here, the multi-spoke design, really interesting. And here the design element, this chrome stripe that goes all the way over the vehicle. And the 500 logo has here this integrated E, like a 500E, but they just call it Fiat 500, although it's just the all-electric version now all over the place. And you can see from the side profile, not too much changes if you compare the outgoing model. And you can see also the convertible has the soft top roof right here. And it is a major difference here in the spoiler if you compare the convertible to the hatch. This one here being the more special version, so to speak, which stands out on the market just a little bit more unique. Still a tiny vehicle, still this, really nice design, Italian design. It always stands out as a design object, has always been the case even with the very, very old models. And there are also still some quotes of one of the original models. What do you think? And in the rear, the typical Fiat 500 design where the top part is shorter and the lower part is longer, so boat or yacht style. Then new tail lamps here as well. Overall, everything is basically new, like 96% of the parts are new, so almost nothing has stayed from the predecessor version, also an all-new electric platform. And the top speed here, by the way, there's a small and the big battery. With a smaller battery, the top speed is around 85 miles per hour, so around 135 kilometers an hour. And with the bigger battery we have here today, 90 miles per hour top speed, so that's 150 kilometers an hour. And I know you guys always like to see the turning indicators. That's how they look like in the rear. And this is here the normal hatch, the closed hatch. You can see here also with a special matte thunder gray color. Really interesting surface. Reminds us a little bit of this Magno gray color by Mercedes. And it really works very well with the styling with this color here. From the exterior you can see it's not such a big difference. If you pick the convertible or the normal closed hatch, you really only see it from the outside here with the top roof. However, in the rear there is a huge difference in styling already from the outside. Whereas the convertible has this soft top folded all the way to the rear and the small spoiler. Here the normal hatch, or sedan as Fiat also calls it, has this bigger spoiler here in the rear, looks way sportier, and of course all in vehicle color. So definitely here this upper area sportier, more elegant with the normal closed hatch. Yeah, but then you cannot open anything. And this is our third version for today. You remember, convertible, hatch, and this here, the hatch in the 3+1 version, means there's an additional door here, a suicide door, a small one. Everything else unchanged, just this additional door just on the passenger side. You can see it a little bit already from the outside, and in the interior part we will also compare it. And the color of this one here is called rose gold. Under the hood we can see the front electric motor, so front wheel drive, and the smaller version 95 horsepower, 9.5 seconds in the acceleration figure, and the bigger version we have here today with the bigger battery 118 horsepower with 9 seconds in the acceleration figure. By the way, really cool that we have gas struts here just in the Fiat 500. And about the range figures, so the small battery is 24 kilowatt hour with about 170 kilometers of range or 100 miles, and the bigger battery we also have today is 42 kilowatt hours with projected range of 300 kilometers or 190 miles. Today it's quite cold, so it will be a little bit less. And charging is always 11 kilowatt AC, that's good, and DC also available, 50 kilowatt max for the small battery, and here for the big battery 85 kilowatt. Car key, round, light, 500 badge. Then you close the car when putting this button here, open it just right here, integrated handles. Then door closing sound, actually quite solid. Then here inside of the doors is hard pack material, still no small segment. Then electric door openers, and interesting detail, made in Torino, because it's now once again, as the vintage one, made in Torino again, and with the vintage stamp here, so nice detail, definitely. Then also interesting fabric seats, living room atmosphere with this gray fabric, and you have different fabric stylings, so this is also the way to go for more breathable atmosphere. There is also a so-called eco leather available, but it's misleading because it's a share of leatherette and animal parts, and when they're animal parts it's not really eco, so just stay with the fabric seats here. They look actually quite cool, and they're also very good that they don't get too hot in summer times. Also would recommend it here for the convertible. And actually, you feel a little bit more, spacious here when you're sitting in this new generation. The seats also go way lower. In the previous generation, you feel you sit a little bit higher, and that's why you also have more headroom. So here, especially in the convertible, a lot of headroom with 1.86 or 6.1, just when you go to the side here. But overall, also as a tall adult, you get along here. Manual seat, pumping up, y'all. Front and back. Then completely new steering wheel, up and down, in and out. Actually easy and smooth process. Soon more details about the steering wheel commands. You can see also a flat bottom area, for example. But as you sit a little bit lower in the vehicle than before, it feels also a little bit sportier from the seating position already. So, very promising interior. Let's find out more. Now the interior overview, and the whole cockpit looks so much better than the outgoing model and also more premium feel to it. The base version would start without any screen here in the middle. You just use your smartphone. Then when you go for the bigger battery, you automatically get a 7-inch screen, a smaller one here in the middle. And this is here the top 10.25-inch screen, the biggest one available. Left side, always digital instruments. And you can see this here, exterior color match for this deco element, but different stylings available for that one. And here you still have the climate unit. You can easily control while driving, like to have that, and also the vent strength and so on. One USB-A control, so supply right here. There's also inductive charging pad here. Then to put in the gears, parking, drive, neutral, reverse. So easy, straightforward. On the steering wheel, also new buttons right here. Sometimes a little bit loose, but the feel when you go over it is quite okay. But again, could be maybe a little bit better attached. Here for cruise control, left side pick up the phone and also to control the digital instruments. And again, this very nice flat bottom steering wheel. This also looks, a little bit more premium than the outgoing model. And then in the lower part here, either you have it all the way open, that's cool, but you can also fold out a cup holder here. Not so good from the build quality, but it works. Then you have the driving mode selector, and the strange thing is here, it doesn't work when you just click it normally. You really have to really hardly click it, and then it only works to switch it. Volume. Then in the middle part here, you slide it open, have one more cup holder and another USB supply and 12-volt power supply. And last but not least, here the somewhat well attached, but only somewhat, some more space here underneath. And the digital instruments, you can browse through different views. This is more just with a centralized tachometer and settings. Interesting as here with the map view, for example, like this. So you can also have it then in your line of sight a little bit better. This is definitely very helpful. Also the music information and so on. So I think actually well done. But the base overview like this here with the trip meter, this looks a little bit, not such a good overview. So probably I would most of the time just leave it like this with a good speed overview. Or then once again, if you have a route set, go with the map display. Always takes a little bit time to load. Not sure why it's always reloading. Here we go again. Now the infotainment screen, if it still flickers a little bit, by the way, that's just on camera. Then here's the big sat nav view, and actually, sometimes it takes a little time to load, but then it's quite okay from responsiveness, and the visualization here is also actually quite decent. Then, for example, you also have a AC overview like this here, also for the heated seats. But most of the stuff you control them with the normal climate unit. CarPlay integration or Android Auto looks like this, here all the way over the screen. Sound system check. Let's see. It's an awesome song, by the way. You should check that out. But the sound system, I'd say it's rather basic as for the quality. So then we can check some vehicle commands here. For example, you can check out the power flow while driving. This is very interesting. Of course, shouldn't be distracted as a driver, but you can also schedule, for example, when you want to have a preheating or something. So overall, I think it does the job. So far, the best infotainment system we've seen in a Fiat. So getting inside, possible on driver and the passenger side. It's a little bit tricky. That's better than with this 3+1 version, actually. But here in the normal hatch or in the convertible, it's like this, and you can slide the seat backwards again, but just that you can see it better. The cool thing about the convertible is that you have more headroom in the rear, and it's also, a soft area, of course. So when you go a little bit backwards, you have more headroom than in a normal hatch, and when you hit the ceiling, it's also soft. So headroom-wise, I can sit here as a tall adult. It's just that when I put the seat backward, as I would be driving there in the front, no matter which seat, it just doesn't work with the knees. I really have to somehow, somewhere. It's tough situation, definitely. But it's not meant to be driven with tall adults in the rear. And to open the roof, electric here, on the inside, press it once. This is then step 1. This is, of course, so unique. Brings really so much light inside here. And then there's step 2. You have to press then for a second time. And there we go. And then it goes all the way back. And that really gives you a very, very unique feeling here in this Fiat 500. And why I always would go for the convertible version right here. And the trunk area is 185 liters up to 550 liters when you fold the seats. Here in a half split, already put one side down. Charging cable is just here underneath. There's space, for example, for the additional charging cable, for example. So the convertible here has just this small opening. This will be different than in the classic hatch where you have a big opening, but the liter figure is just the same. Now, second car interior, this is the normal hatch, and we just have a different styling you can also get for a convertible, for example. Here, very interesting structure. So it feels really interesting, and it also looks interesting. First of all, these lines in the structure, it really feels so special. You always want to touch it. So, and then you also have these wooden kind of structures on the top. It's not wood, but it's really very well done. And you can see the overall dark styling here on the interior. Also, once again, nice fabric structure here on the seat. It looks, like furniture, living room alike, and so on. So very well done. From the interior, I think I would prefer it in that way, I think. But tell me what you think. And just another difference here, that in the hatch, that's how it looks like in the rear. And you can also look at the ceiling. So this is actually something that is better with the convertible. Due to the soft top on the interior, you indeed have a little bit more space, especially in the headroom area in the rear. And I can show you what I mean. If I just get inside right here as an example. So when I lean backwards, then I do hit the ceiling here with my head. So in this area here. And that's not the case then with the convertible. Yeah, I know, maybe it doesn't make too much sense because you won't drive with tall adults all the time in the rear anyway, but just to point out the differences. And now the trunk comparison of the hatch here. And the difference is you have a better access. So you have it all the way open right there. And you can also easier fold the seats right here and here. Of course, they fold all the way flat then when you put the seats a little bit more forward. So this is the basic difference. The liter figure doesn't differ, It's just the access is really here with this wide open hatch then. And now to the interior test here of the 3+1 version. So normal door in the front, and then this is here the second door right here is actually then more practical. The clear advantage is, first of all, if you want to install some child seats, for example, then you just have a way better access. Have it right here, put the seat in the front, and then you can install, get in and out, the children and so on, all the child seats. Isofix on both seats in the rear. So this is, of course, really cool. And also, when you want to enter yourself, this is way easier than with a normal hatch like this. So this really helps. Just legroom, of course, the very same. So it's not really suitable for tall adults. This seat here, as I could be driving in the front and on the passenger side. See here, it doesn't work with the with the knees, but definitely better access. So when you're a little bit smaller than me, then you have a better access here, and definitely again for the child seat. So I think it's a very cool addition. So for everyone who had, for example, the Fiat 500 so far and was always a little bit, doesn't work that well to put the seats in and out. This is an interesting solution, and again, one of the 3 versions you can pick now. Welcome to Thomas's Driving Lounge with the all-new Fiat 500 electric version here. You can see rear view camera as well, and a nice good resolution, and the helping lines adapt accordingly. Then putting the D mode is actually a nice solution here with the middle console, so good to have that. Easy control. Steering is really, really light. I have to go quite a long way to steer them. Interesting turning indicator sound, by the way, right? That sounds a little bit old school, I think. What do you think? So here once again, so this doesn't do too much. However, I think it's still quite okay. Difference, by the way, with driving the convertible here, you know that modern soft tops are usually very well insulated, but this is, not the true convertible, not with a very elaborated, extensive soft top. So here it is indeed a little bit louder than in the normal hatch version. Have to bear that in mind. However, here in the city traffic, of course, doesn't make too much difference. And having this soft top atmosphere here actually is quite cool. And once again, when being in this interior. So I'll put you the speed here in a bigger way. And the normal driving mode does not include much recuperation, so when I go off the throttle, we are rather rolling. And this is actually good for efficiency when you do not want to reduce the speed, so that's actually then quite okay. Rolling is always more efficient than the recuperation, and you can always start the recuperation by just hitting the normal brakes, and then it's doing the recuperation until you have a level where you need even more braking power, and then the normal brakes would be applied. Here, easy to squeeze ourselves into city traffic with the Fiat 500. And the acceleration is always spontaneous with electric vehicles, even if they're not super powerful. That means when you're almost at standstill here in city traffic and just hit the throttle, it's really going forward very, very well. That's cool. Here the driving mode selector told you initially that you have to really hammer this switch to be able to change the driving modes. And then you can go to range or Sherpa. Sherpa is more like, guide me home, bring me home. This reduces the heating and reduces the top speed and so on. So if you're really like, oh, I'm really going to make it, but usually you don't need it. Usually just need either normal driving mode or the range mode. And the range mode actually then does a harsh recuperation. So this is more for this one pedal driving feeling. So when I accelerate and get off the throttle, it really reduces the speed, and then also until it stops, until 0. And here, for example, when being stuck in traffic, this can be very helpful. So I don't need the brake at all. I just hit the throttle slightly, then there's recuperation or just coming to a standstill. So for traffic light situations, for really heavy traffic situations, this range mode is, I think, helpful and just a little bit more relaxed while driving. Now getting a little bit quicker. A lot of fun, and again, the electric driving experience is always better than with the combustion engines. It's just spontaneous, at the same time it's silent. Suspension wise, whoa, that's getting a little bit rough, so it's rather set on a sporty tone. The suspension is not forgiving at all, so when there are some bumps in the road, especially with the 17-inch wheels, this reduces the comfort a little bit. So if you want more comfort, rather stick with the 15 or 16-inch wheels. They have more dampening in the tire, so to speak. But here with the 17-inch, not so much dampening. But it's so much fun to ease this car around here in city traffic. That's also where it really belongs to. And again, spontaneous acceleration. If you want to sneak into a gap or something here and there, that works very, very well. Yeah, here the Smart 4 would be still also one competitor, although it's even a little bit shorter. And here, for example, leaving my foot off the throttle, not using the brakes. And here, this was even, coming to a stop before the traffic lights and here with that line. So the one pedal driving feeling in this range mode is working very well, very strong recuperation. So I'm actually quite happy with that. We'll also go out to the motorway to show you some more acceleration, also when we are at speed and so on. But here now, when the traffic light jumps to green, we show you the first, real city acceleration from 0. And now let's see how that one plays out. And it's always a lot of fun with electric vehicles. That's the cool thing. Even if you just have 118 horsepower here, the torque immediately sets in. So just one, there we go. Plop, that's 50. That's really cool. And you would otherwise need performance versions of some other vehicles to be able to get that. When you look behind yourself here, then you're gone. Everyone else with the normal combustion engine, they are starting to accelerate when you are already gone. Now getting on the motorway, see how it performs. It's of course not laid out for higher motorway driving. But again, really nice from the reactions here. It feels really sporty. The chassis has always been improved. And since we have the battery in the floor, this also brings down the center of gravity. That's with most of the electric vehicles, they feel sportier than it would be with the combustion engine version. So now no one is behind us. We can do some 70 kilometers to 100 kilometers. See how it accelerates here. Let's go. Plop, that's it. think still reasonable. Here now at 100 kilometers an hour or 60 miles an hour, you feel it's a little bit more noisy than it would be with the normal closed hatch, definitely. Still sound okay, but noise insulation is not where this car would be leading, let's take it that way. And now here we reduce from 100 kilometers to 80. Let's see how strong it is with the recuperation. Now, plop, and 80. See, and this was even 75 even. So this again works very well. Now in this segment here, there's hardly any other car with level 2 autonomous driving, and this is possible here with the cruise control set here on the steering wheel, and there's also a lane keeping assist. So both is available. Let's see how the car is being kept in the lane. So far a smooth process here. So I'm not using the steering wheel at the moment, just holding on a little bit, and also without too much interference. Really smooth process here. You see it's going slightly right. I can also increase the speed here with the right thumb. So this is a really helpful feature. I like that. So why not? And it's also a blind spot monitor. There we go. See here when I use the turning indicator. But it seems to be only active when I use the turning indicator, it seems. So interesting. But also get an acoustic warning when someone is next to me. Also very helpful feature. So it's good that we even have in the smallest car segment, we also have a lot of elaborate assistance systems. See? There it is. See. So I thought it appears quite late. See it here? It's more like the PSA Corporation system, where it appears relatively late. So here only in the moment it is in the blind spot. So there's different philosophy, So some systems work like saying like this is the moment it's in the blind spot, and other systems are more like a little bit in advanced, So let's drive a little bit faster. See how that goes. Still more acceleration. There we go. Yeah, racing with the Fiat 500 electric. And let's bring it to the top speed. So here we go. And now it shut down 150 kilometers an hour. So around 90 miles an hour. And now it's getting quite noisy in here. But the car is still relatively stable. No problem. Steering, however, very, very light. But suspension-wise and chassis-wise, I still feel at home. And the thing is here now, then of course, the consumption is actually quite high. That's the thing then with the small electric vehicles and the high autobahn speed. So when I, for example, reset it, I have to not allowed to overtake on the right side here. Yes, of course, I want to give a good role model. So now, so what we do right now is we are all okay to reset. So now we accelerate all out. So bring it back to 150 kilometers an hour. So here we go. It's really interesting. You really feel how the electronic limit is right there, and then it's rolled down. Yeah, then it's all the way 50 kilowatt hours or more kilometers. Now I dropped down a little bit more. So of course, really, really high energy consumption. That's not how you're supposed to deal with this vehicle, So what we can actually do is see when we put it on 100 kilometers an hour, see how the consumption behaves then. So put it on 100 kilometers an hour, 60 miles an hour, then reset the trip and see what's the average consumption then on the motorway, because a lot of people will maybe commute over the motorway as well and see how it plays out then. So we need a while to recalculate that. Let's see at the moment, starting with about 22 kilowatt hour on 100 kilometers. That would mean it cannot keep up with the promised range if you do this kind of stuff here. The promised range would be calculated 14 kilowatt hours on 100 kilometers. And that is more when you have more city traffic. So this car is also definitely set out to do more city traffic. And then you can also easier reach the announced consumption figures. So now it's still dropping a little bit. So now when the calculation works a little bit better, 18 kilowatt hours and 1 kilometers, that's somewhat realistic, definitely. That would still be less than calculated. So especially in winter times, now a single Celsius degree figures, then you always have to deduct a little bit from that range. So, but acceleration here, even when we are at 100, back again, this is possible. So I would rather recalculate then with about cruise control 100 kilometers, 60 miles an hour, about 18 kilowatt hours and 100 kilometers. That's what you can calculate with. But overall, a likable driving feeling. The driving feeling is so much better than in the outgoing model, that it's all electrified, is so much more fun. The car feels more elaborated. It feels, I mean, it's not the premium segment, but it feels more premium than the predecessor, definitely. So to me, everything in this generation is better than in the predecessor. The seating position is more comfortable. You're more in control. Yet again, it's sportier, a little bit more steering feeling. That would have been cool, but definitely I feel both sportier and more comfortable and more fun. So to me, in every single aspect, this car is better now in this new generation. So I'm really enjoying it, and I think the biggest thing about this vehicle is actually that more people will consider buying this vehicle than before. Also, you've seen the exterior styling, which I think appeals to a wider target group now. The target group before was a little bit narrower, I think, and now this is really, to me, one of the central conclusions for the day. Also from driving, this is now more a car for everyone. Small car appealing to so many more customers, especially then in these three versions, with the convertible, with the normal hatch, and then also with the 3+1. And remember here, the convertible about 3,000 euros extra compared with the hatch, and the 3+1 version is about 2,000 euros extra. Definitely interesting choices, and driving wise, I think very nicely done, very interesting. And we'll now reset the consumption meter once again, do some more mixed driving, also city traffic, and then in our conclusion we'll tell you the final result from the mixed energy consumption, so we can see how is it really with that range figure, is it realistic or not. One more special driving feature here with the convertible. Let's open that thing. So this is then the first step. Of course, now in winter times, not that attractive, but here 60 kilometers an hour, you can still drive in a reasonable way. That works. Not too much wind getting inside. Let's see how the difference is when they put it all the way down like this. It's of course more open then. Sometimes it depends on these stages. Is it more or less wind now? Because with the Smart 4.2 convertible, for example, you have less wind when you open it more. Here, I think you have less wind turbulences, but it still gets colder because the area is more open. So I think for winter times, this could be a good compromise. But yeah, so I think it's maybe warmer, but then again, there's more wind turbulences. So overall, I think when I'm driving it with the open top, I think I would really go here with all the way down. Then you have less wind turbulence, and it's also feeling really cool. And like the 60, 70 kilometers an hour, you can easily drive with that with open top. For city driving with open top, it's really perfect and makes this car so much more unique. And now to our conclusion for today with the all-new Fiat 500. First of all, if you compare it to the predecessor, what a big step forward. It is better in every single possible way. I think it looks better, it looks sportier, it appeals to a wider target group. And the normal hatch, I think the best looking, especially then from the rear. The convertible, doesn't work that well from the rear design, I think, but it has the big advantage that you can drive it with the open top. It will be such a pleasure, especially in summertime. However, it's also a little bit noisier than while driving if you compare it to the normal closed hatch. The 3+1 version is the version then if you have kids and want to get the child seats in and out of the car quite frequently, or just the kids and leave the child seat in the vehicle. This is definitely a very helpful feature. And from the interior, way better build quality than ever before, and also with a nice design, straightforward user interface and so on. Driving wise, a lot of fun indeed. Electric power, you have the torque instantaneously, so you can be quite quick in the city indeed. As for the economy, energy economy, we have to say it really works. So our final result for today is that we really reached this official figure of about 14 kilowatt hours on 1 kilometer, and that means the 300 kilometers or 190 miles range is indeed realistic. A little bit less than when you have cold temperatures, and of course also less when you have high autobahn speeds. 1 kilometers or 60 miles an hour, we're about like 18 kilowatt hours on 1 kilometers, and when you go max speed, then the range is dropping significantly. But overall, definitely also a lot of fun driving, and also seating position is sportier, sit a little bit lower in the vehicle, but at the same time more comfortable than before. So even though I'm a tall adult, I didn't have any back pain experience or so. So overall, I think indeed a very interesting new competitor on the EV market. So what's your take for today? Please leave us your comments here to the all-new Fiat 500. Do you like it, and which version would you go for? The convertible, the hatch, or the hatch 3+1? Leave us your comments, let's discuss this vehicle, and also see you next time.